Local, live, late-breaking. WESH 2 News on CW18 starts now.
Now on WESH 2 News at 10, from Southwest Florida to Southwest Ohio, the devastating impacts being felt across a more than 1,100-mile stretch of the U.S.
Tonight, at least 42 people have been killed across several states because of this storm, and that number is likely to grow. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Michelle Imparato.
And I'm Stuart Moore. While much of Central Florida was spared from the harsh impact of Helene, high winds caused a significant amount of damage, especially in residential areas. WESH 2's Luana Munoz found a home in Marion County damaged after a tree fell on it. What a positive outlook there. All right, communities near St. Petersburg and Pinellas County were hit hard by the impacts from Helene. Those
who had to leave the county's barrier island still can't return home. And WESH 2's Haley Crumbleholm explains those who stayed on the island had to be rescued.
The damage from Helene is so extensive in the Big Bend area where it made landfall last night that we are just now truly seeing the extent of it. Look at the damage and flooding from this chopper video. Big Bend region dealing with the aftermath of a direct hit from its third hurricane in just the last 13 months. That includes Hurricane Debbie, which made landfall as a Category 1 in Steinhatchee early last month, and Hurricane Idalia, which was a Category 4 when it made landfall in late August of last year.
And we actually do have some video out of Steinhatchee from overnight. This really shows the historic storm surge that they're dealing with in this area. So homes are almost completely underwater. Well, you're looking at trees right there, but water levels in this area reached more than 20 feet above ground in the Big Bend area. Look at that, almost up to the roof. And storm surges like that often lead to scenes like this. Just take a look at all these boats. They're lining people's yards in Treasure Island. Guys, this storm was massive, and people are going to be cleaning up for months, for years. It's going to take a long time.
It's just amazing, you know. We knew this was going to happen. You know, we were talking to Jamie Rome, the Hurricane Center, last night, and I said, Jamie, everybody's focusing on north of Tampa. Tampa Bay itself is going to have some issues, and sure enough, you know, Greg Fox was out there today, and all those boats were, you know, displaced big time.
And people being rescued.
Yeah, I got friends in the Carolinas who were like, they didn't think anything of this storm. And I've been telling them for days, hey, it might be worse for you. And they're in the dark and flooded out right now.
A 1,000-year flood in portions of North Carolina. Mudslides, you know, you hear about that in California. Not along the East Coast and the mountains over there, but it was an amazing storm for so many facets, and it's still going on. Let me show you the Ohio Valley right now. Heavy rain in St. Louis, over towards Southwest Ohio, over towards Purdue University, Indiana. I tell you, it's a huge, huge storm right now, and still a few showers across South Florida. Rainfall totals here closing in on 15 inches in portions of Virginia and North Carolina in the high country, with an additional 3 to 6 inches likely here right along the Ohio River, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, northern Tennessee, southwest Ohio. And then this is going to slowly move to the east with time as our next cold front will kind of push this off towards the north and the east. Look at these power outages. 99.5% there of Taylor County without power. That extends up into southeast Georgia. The news gets better and better here. No power outages now being reported in Sumter on into Osceola, Polk counties. The number still a little bit high there in Marion County, but things are beginning to improve, so some good news on that front. Peak wind gust here one more time. Last time you'll see this tonight, 60 to 70 miles here in central Florida. There's that peak surge from Clearwater Beach to East Bay, Port Manatee. Record shattered by a good 2 feet, and that's why we had all that loss of property and those boats being picked up. More on our weekend forecast. A big football game over at the Bounce House tomorrow. I'll have the latest forecast for you straight ahead.
All right, the images that we are seeing from Florida's west coast, absolutely devastating. Record storm surge impacted areas from Tampa down to Fort Myers. Here's a look at some of those images from the lens of Chopper 2. In Tampa, the area saw record-breaking storm surge in the nighttime hours. By daylight, the water had receded and the damage was clear. Pieces of a home's roof blown off. One home burned to the ground. The mayor of Tampa blaming an electric vehicle exposed to storm surge that was locked inside the garage. One home had furniture and debris that appeared to have floated out of the house, but littered everywhere. Boats no longer in the water, but piled up on yards. Anna Maria Island, a home was leveled, the area covered in damaged roofs, sand in the roadway, and scars of a rush of water that took over the community. In the thin strip that is Venice Beach, cars were literally buried in the sand. High ocean waters likely carrying them from their spots and leaving them behind as the waves retreated. On Treasure Island, Chopper 2 saw what was left of cars and debris that likely floated in the high surf. Piles of damaged vehicles and what's now junk are littered everywhere. The stain of where the ocean crept inland visible from the sky. Gulfport shows sailboats out of the water, a home that looks like a tornado ripped it to pieces, and neighbors left trying to find where to even start the cleanup. In Punta Gorda, more of the same. Roads covered in sand, neighbors with dumpsters filled as they remove items ruined in floodwaters. Some of the homes still waiting for the water to recede. And in Fort Myers, a community still recovering from Hurricane Ian in 2022, homes that survived then now buried in sand, ripped apart, all from a system that's eyewall never approached its shores. Every West Coast community in Florida impacted by record storm surge. Ian, Idalia, now Helene, all three storms in consecutive years, all leaving a permanent scar on the scenic Florida Gulf Coast.
We're also getting a look at damage from above the Sarasota area. St. Armand's Key and Lido Key were lashed by wind, rain, and of course, they got widespread flooding. The north entrance to Siesta Key has been closed, and the bridges to Siesta Key are only open for residents of the island or business owners on the island with a valid ID. Over in Citrus County, Good Samaritans have been helping first responders rescue their neighbors from flooding along the Crystal River. The sheriff says more than 100 people and 50 pets have been rescued. Some areas of the Crystal River are 10 feet deep. That is something that area has never seen before.
A caravan of Florida Department of Transportation equipment and staff rolled out of DeLand this morning, heading for North Florida. Take a look. Their mission will be to assist where the local DOT crews may be overwhelmed with the amount of repairs and cleanup. Staff members of DOT District 5 lined the drive to wave so long and urge their D5 heroes to stay safe. And here's a look at the latest numbers of homes and businesses without power. Right now, statewide, 524,000 customers. That's not people, but homes and businesses that do not have power.
In Volusia County, the sheriff's office and county fire department deployed around 30 emergency responders to help with recovery and rescue efforts. And the sheriff thanked the first responders before they left for the Panhandle today.
They'll be up there at least for a week unless they decide that they need less. But if they need more, we have a second team that will deploy, next Friday.
While deputies will likely be helping out in several ways, firefighters will be focused on rescues. These crews will be working 12-hour shifts, and it will allow emergency responders up in Taylor County who have been working around the clock to take a much-needed break. WESH 2 News is staying on top of the impact and the cleanup from Hurricane Helene. And remember, you can always get the latest news online on our website, WESH.com, and by downloading our free WESH 2 News mobile app. Still ahead, our coverage of Helene continues after the break.
Next, we head to Perry, not far from where the storm made landfall in the Big Bend.
Those are our cabins and our houses that you can't even see. Our store, we don't even know where that is.
What people who have lived there for decades say they plan to do in the aftermath of their third landfall in just over a year.
Plus, it is not just Florida. We take you to other parts of the South dealing with Helene's impact.
Would you do a job for me?
One job.
A good thief always covers their tracks.
Is there something else going on, Joan? I'm a thief.
Joan.
Wednesday at 9 on CW18.
Where Helene made landfall in the Big Bend, you can see they are dealing with just a lot of damage tonight. Helene's winds damaged boat docks, littering the canals with debris. Just look at this.
The Category 4 hurricane ripped off rooftops across Taylor County and turned homes into empty shells. WESH Justin Checkers in Perry talking to families who have just started counting their losses. Floodwaters from Helene have surrounded a hospital in Tennessee. Take a look at how high the water goes, covering cars, ambulances, and a fire truck. More than 50 people were trapped on the roof. They have all since been rescued. A SWAT team happened to be trained in the area, managed to save the patients, staff, and some of their medications. Meanwhile, one of Florida's major hospitals managed to fight off the floodwaters.
If you are not familiar with Tampa General Hospital, it sits right on the Hillsborough Bay. It is prime real estate for storm surge. But you have to see this. Crews put up a fight by putting up this. It is called an aqua fence. We showed it to you yesterday, but basically a giant flood wall around the perimeter of the whole hospital. So this is what it looked like before Helene, and now this is what it looked like overnight as Helene pushed up the Gulf, pushing the water from the bay onto the land and then up against the fence. And guys, the fence held the water back. We also want to show you a picture from Tampa General Hospital earlier in the day after Helene passed. As you can see, the fence is still standing and the water has receded. That's an excellent invention.
They're going to be everywhere now.
Yeah.
All right, we also spoke a lot about how Helene is impacting not only Florida, but several other states as well. In Georgia, Helene has left neighborhoods across Atlanta and the state sitting in floodwaters. At least 11 people in Georgia have died because of this storm. The damage is being felt even further up the East Coast. Taking a look now at damage in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is about 450 miles north of where Helene made landfall in the Big Bend area as a Category 4. We spoke about how large Helene's wind field was and how problematic this would be. This is another example of exactly how big that was.
Okay, Tony, I feel like we've been focusing so much on the aftermath of Helene. Can we talk about our weather after Helene? It's been kind of nice today.
It's sunset tonight.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Darren actually texted me, hey, thanks for not raining on a Friday night.
Really? He didn't even get one raindrop, huh?
No, he was pretty good. And so was the rest of the gang. Zach was out there, too. And then they're going to have a whole bunch of highlights here a little bit later on. Hey, let me take you back downtown right now. I love that shot of Midtown right now. Looks really good. There's that drier air that Michelle was alluding to, the ribbon of orange, the fire. That's the drier air. But now look what's going on. You can see some moisture beginning to creep back northward now on the water vapor channel. The upper flow here from the satellite imagery also hinting at some moisture coming on up. And you can see down towards Miami, there are some showers down there. So the evolution is to moisten back up as we head into the upcoming weekend. But there's some good news here. The wave action is beginning to come down a lot from where we were just 12 hours ago. And as we head into the weekend, the surf is going to improve. The seas are going to improve. It's still going to be a little bit rough there along the coast, especially near those sandbars that can create some issues with some rip currents. So please swim near those lifeguards if you're heading there this weekend after a rough weather week, so to speak. Temperatures out the door tomorrow morning, middle and upper 70s to near 80 in coastal Brevard County. And notice the flow here. As we get you on into late morning into the afternoon, some pockets of some showers and storms kind of coming up from the south and west, and a few of these will be in the vicinity of the campus of the University of Central Florida. We're talking about the bounce house for that game tomorrow. It's not going to be an all-day rain. It's going to be warm. It's going to be humid, but there will be a few showers and storms around. Same setup here, so to speak, as we had that southwest flow returning some moisture off of the Gulf of Mexico, producing some showers and some storms. Now, there will be some pockets of some locally heavy rain. Not everybody's going to see this amount, but where it does come down, where it does set up, could quickly pick up 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches of rain. All right, day planner, afternoon showers and storms. It's going to be a hot one. Afternoon highs in the lower 90s. We do have a launch now tomorrow. And I'm hoping that the showers and storms will hold off. There are some issues with the forecast. It's not perfect, but I'm hoping with this latest run, everything's going to hold on for this 117 NASA Crew 9 mission on that Falcon 9 rocket. We'll have to watch the ascent corridor as well. Look at these temperatures now. Upper 80s, low 90s, area wide. Normally, we'd be at about 88 degrees. It's going to be well above that. All right, let's get to that forecast. Clouds overhead, showers developing off towards the west. Few of them moving on in at kickoff. Temperatures then in the mid-80s. As we take a look now at the tropics, we just knocked out Helene, Isaac, and Joyce. So 2 major hurricanes thus far. And when you take a look out there, there's Isaac, there's Joyce. Not too worried about this new feature, but I am going to be watching this area right here. You're going to see a lot of social media tweets and stuff like that, focusing in on the potential for some development here. Nothing's formed yet, so don't panic. We'll keep you posted on that. I've got to look at some of the long-range models there just to kind of give you a first look at it. All I need you to do right now, enjoy your weekend. Keep checking back in next week, and we'll keep you posted on any development. As you can see, no signs of fall through the middle of next week. Temperatures then still in the low 90s.
This is big.
No, this is bigger than big.
What is happening?
It's happy hours on CW18. That's what's happening.
To that I say kaboom!
Who wants to get their shelled on?
Let's do this.
What's up, my nerd diddle? That's hilarious.
Get ready for laughs, and even bigger laughs. CW18's Happy Hours. Weeknights starting at 5, only on CW18.
So you in?
Hell yeah, I'm in.
New at 10, a judge in the Dominican Republic ruled Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco will stand trial on charges he sexually abused a minor. That judge will ultimately deliver the verdict. A trial date has not been set yet. Franco has not played in a major league game since the investigation began in August 2023. Now, he is accused of having a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old girl. Her mother has also been indicted after prosecutors said Franco paid her thousands of dollars to consent to the relationship. He faces up to 20 years in prison.
Now that Helene has cleared out, all systems are go for SpaceX's next crewed launch from the Space Coast on Saturday. This is video of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon capsule rolling out to the launch pad at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station just a few days ago. A two-man crew will dock at the International Space Station, and in a few months, that same capsule will be used to bring home the crew of Boeing's Starliner. They are still at the ISS after their capsule returned to Earth empty over concerns with the thrusters. So tomorrow's launch is scheduled for 1:17 in the afternoon. We'll bring it to you live on WESH 2 and on WESH.com.
Coming up in our next half hour, our coverage of the impact of Helene continues.
We head back to Florida's West Coast for a closer look at record-breaking storm surge.
3 vehicles are gone. At the end of the day, nobody died. So we count our blessings.
The process just getting underway to clean up the billions of dollars worth of damage.
Plus, what you should do with your sandbags and any debris around your home now that the storm has passed.
Local, live, late-breaking. WESH 2 News on CW18 starts now.
Now at 10:30, assessing the damage in the aftermath of Helene. At least 42 deaths have been reported across the southeast because of this storm.
And now the devastation is being felt as far north as northern Tennessee and North Carolina. Take a look at this video showing homes, cars, and the first floor of apartment buildings almost completely submerged. Well, here in Florida, one of the hardest hit areas in the state is in the Tampa area. Many areas along the coast there saw record-breaking storm surge and a great deal of wind damage.
WESH 2's Greg Fox spent the day there and shows us what residents are dealing with tonight.
Now, this is a scene we don't often see that really highlights how much of a wind event Helene was. This is sand covering roadways on Anna Maria Island. This is about 20 miles northwest of Sarasota. The evacuation order for this area has been lifted, but the island remains closed. It will stay that way until crews can clear the roads and determine it's safe to return. Then only residents will be allowed to re-enter. Tags will be allowed to go in if you have a local tag. Meanwhile, further north on St. Pete Beach, images from the ground show cars partially buried in the sand. Pinellas County Sheriff's Office shared these photos of the damage left behind from the storm surge. When the waves left, it just left this behind. St. Pete area saw more than 6-foot storm surge.
Tony, it is so refreshing to look at the radar tonight and not see any green on it at all. Green, red, yellow, none of it.
Yeah, we got pretty lucky today. Pretty fortunate because, you know, the storm did move up a little bit more to the north. That allowed for some drier air to come back in. And I think the weekend's going to be decent. There's going to be some rain, but it's not going to be all day. You'll have plenty of time outside. Let me take you up towards Daytona Beach right now. That bridge right there, that's spectacular at night. They've got it lit up there in Volusia County. We take a look now at some of the numbers outside here, and you'll see that they're in the 70s. But there's the orange and the tan colors right there, a little bit of red. That's that drier air. But notice what's been happening tonight. Some moisture now beginning to lift back to the north, and that's a sign that things are trying to moisten back up as that upper low is getting stretched out. What it's doing is trying to pull some of this moisture up from the south. Temperatures outside still quite warm now, 76 to about 81 degrees. Wind speeds are fairly light in comparison to where we have been here the last a couple of days, and then the forecast out the door in the morning. Watching some moisture now off towards our south and our west. Temperatures at daybreak will be running in the mid-70s. It's going to be a good day to be at the attractions. Yeah, there'll be a couple of afternoon showers and storms, but overall not too bad. 92 with a few late day showers and storms. The rest of that weekend forecast and a closer look at the tropics coming up here in just a couple minutes, guys.
Tony, thank you. So many rescue crews across Florida have been working to save people from life-threatening storm surge. This was the scene last night in Fort Myers Beach, where the storm surge was high enough that multiple people had to be rescued from the rising waters. Lee County Sheriff's Office Marine Unit was out in the elements. Floodwaters surrounded much of the coastal neighborhoods. Fort Myers Police Department emergency response vehicle also assisted. And Tampa Police shared this video of what its Marine officers saw early this morning. Check out these floodwaters almost reaching the top of some of these mailboxes. This was around 2 a.m. before high tide. During our storm coverage, we showed you a picture of a man and his dog being rescued from their sinking boat by the U.S. Coast Guard. Now we've got the new video showing those rescuers in action. This happened on Sanibel Island during the storm. The man was on a sailboat about 25 miles offshore when that boat became disabled and took on water. Both the man and the dog are said to be in good condition.
In South Carolina, rescuers are going door to door to get people from their homes surrounded by flood water. This is video in Pickens County, which is along the Saluda River, which, like many rivers in the state, is overflowing from its banks because of all the heavy rainfall. The Red Cross has said that it has established 4 disaster relief operations after Helene. They are spread out across Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. The Red Cross has more than 700 workers on hand to assist. They are working to help evacuees with shelter and food.
Orange County was one of our several counties that fared well after Hurricane Helene. Today, Mayor Jerry Demings gave a final update on the impacts. Overall, he said pre-storm planning was successful.
In terms of our county-wide focus, we pre-storm wanted to make certain that where we could avoid the potential for any flooding, that we would take appropriate precautions. And we went out and we lowered the lake levels and various other water body levels throughout the county. That means that our pre-storm planning was sufficient because we really did not see any flooding whatsoever.
The county did see some trees and limbs fall as expected. Demings says the county will be stepping up yard waste pickup efforts just to make sure they follow all the regular guidelines to get that stuff out to the curb.
While we don't see much flooding, or we didn't see much flooding here in Central Florida, if you did have flooding and have to file a claim, here are a few things you need to keep in mind. Flooding issues are not covered under most home insurance policies. You must have a separate flood insurance policy for that coverage. You'll want to contact your insurance company and be sure to document and show the damages that the storm caused and make an itemized list of the value of your damaged property. You may also apply for disaster assistance from FEMA.
If you grab sandbags before the storm and are wondering now what to do with them, there are several options. If they are still dry, you can reuse them. Just make sure they stay dry and don't grow mold. If they did get wet, you do need to get rid of them. WESH 2 is staying on top of the impact and cleanup from Helene. Remember, you can always get the latest news online on our website, WESH.com, and by downloading the free WESH 2 News mobile app.
Still ahead tonight, Hurricane Helene is no more, now bringing rain and wind to the Midwest and the Northeast after making landfall as a Category 4.
We're going to check back in with Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi as we look forward to a much calmer weekend and look at what else could be brewing out in the tropics. Plus,
a Puerto Rican art exhibit like no other at Rollins Museum of Art, just in time for Hispanic Heritage Month. We're going to show it to you next.
The Big Bang Theory, weeknights at 7, only on CW18.
The Rollins Museum of Art is highlighting Puerto Rico just in time for Hispanic Heritage Month.
From now through the end of the year, the museum is displaying an exhibit focused on Puerto Rican art and artists dating back to the 1700s. WESH's Jesse Pagan got a look inside the exhibit.
The exhibit will be up until January 5th, and the curator of the exhibit from Puerto Rico will be at the museum on October 8th for a lecture. And by the way, this is all free. All right, we do want to turn our attention back to Helene. We talked a lot about how when you're on the right side of the storm, or what we call the dirty side of the storm, there is a larger risk for severe weather, including pop-up tornadoes.
That was the case in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, between Raleigh and Greenville. Take a look at this drone video showing the damage from a confirmed tornado this afternoon. You can see the damaged storefronts and debris literally everywhere. At least 4 people were injured. Several buildings were destroyed. I looked at this radar earlier in that region. half of the state was red from tornado warnings.
Yeah, Tony, and we were expecting a lot here. I feel like we got pretty lucky.
We were very fortunate where we were. The first band that came up actually went up towards that area, and it went out in advance, and that's why they got more tornadoes than we did. We had our fair share of tornado warnings, though, but things are much quieter and calmer out there right now, so some good news on that front. It's kind of a wind-down weekend, just kind of relax. Some of you may have to do a little bit of cleanup in the yard with some of that wind producing some of those limbs that were down and some twigs and branches and cutting the lawn. It's been a little bit wet out there. And you can see the moisture on the water vapor channel beginning to creep back up to the north from the southwest to the northeast. So we will have rain this weekend, but it's not going to be an all-day event. It'll be fast-moving, but sometimes locally heavy. We'll be watching that again here very carefully. You can see the rain down towards the Florida Keys. That'll gradually work northward. The temperatures up north now in the mid-70s. Temperatures from Sanford, Kissimmee on south and east right around the 80-degree mark. 12-hour forecast, pretty quiet for most of the night. Could be a few showers developing south and west of Orlando, down towards the Four Corners, maybe even on into Sumter County. As we take a look at those temperatures out the door tomorrow morning with a light south-southwest wind, 75 to about the 80-degree mark. Now, here's what's happening. There's the remnants of Helene and an upper low. A trailing stationary front is right over the peninsula, and that moisture is running right along it. So they'll give us the chance for afternoon showers and thunderstorms, not just Saturday, but again on Sundays. That front's kind of stalled on out. So that's going to be one of the things that we're watching. We'll put the rain chances here both Saturday and Sunday at about 50%. The temperature's running in the low 90s. The launch forecast for tomorrow, a 55% chance for liftoff. We're watching the clouds, the precip, and the chances for lightning in those afternoon thunderstorms. And the ascent corridor, yellow, that means we're watching that. With temperatures tomorrow in the upper 80s to the lower 90s. Normally, we'd be right around the 88-degree mark. All right, UCF football, the bounce house is going to be bouncing big time as the Buffaloes of Colorado are in town. Kickoff at 3:30. There will be a few passing showers and storms as we head to the tropics here. Shifting gears, Isaac and Joyce, not an issue for us. Another wave developing there off the west coast of Africa. Could become a tropical depression. But the area that we may have to watch here, models are trying to develop something in the northwestern Caribbean. You can actually see a little turning here. That's that monsoonal trough down towards Panama. Sometimes we're able to develop develop an area of low pressure, and sometimes they could be pulled northward. That's what they're hinting at for some time next week. Of course, we'll keep you posted on that. Brand new advisory on Joyce now. Winds at 50 miles an hour, tropical storm. Isaac is a hurricane and getting stronger, at least in the short run, as it gets across the North Atlantic. The waters are much colder. There's that wave now near the Cabo Verde Islands. Not too worried about it. So we'll keep an eye on this little area down in here. You can see the GFS hinting at something trying to come northwest. While that's going on, that wave off the west coast of Africa does again get pulled north. But the one feature we may have to watch is there may be something trying to develop and pull northward into the Gulf of Mexico. It is a long way off, and the only reason why I'm showing it to you is because you're going to hear a lot about it going forward. You shouldn't be worried about it right now, but you should be checking back in just to make sure things don't go awry. So Saturday, Sunday, afternoon high temperatures in the low 90s. Rain chances running at about 50% as we get you into next week. Look at that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Rainfall chances just a little bit lower. Those daily afternoon highs, upper 80s and the lower 90s.
What do you want to watch?
Big Bang.
It's one of my all-time favorites.
Sounds like a party.
Bang, bang. The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, yeah, this is it.
Weeknights at 7, only on CW18.
Bazinga.
Young Sheldon, weeknights at 6 on CW18.
Friday Night Hits on CW18 is sponsored by Advent Health, the official champion of the human spirit.
Week 6 was a wild one for Friday Night Hits all over. I'm Darren Stoltzfus. Even after Hurricane Helene, for the most part, we had a full schedule of high school football tonight. Certainly something to be grateful for. Obviously, some in this state and throughout the Southeast, far from that fortunate. I am happy to just be talking some ball tonight. Let's take a look at our game of the week. Flagler Palm Coast undefeated on the road at University Orange City. This was a good one. Bulldogs strike first. Hayden Hayes flushed out of the pocket, but he stays poised. He finds Michael Zizek all alone in the end zone. FPC on top first. But back come the Titans. The short handoff goes to Anthony May, and Anthony just may have his way. Walks into the end zone. And how about this celebration? Looking like a dog. Yeah, that one drew a flag, but it's fun. University led 14-13 at the half. Second half, Malachi Walters goes up top to the big Barrett Schultz. He hauls it in, one of his 2 touchdowns on the night. Now, how about the bounce back from University? Big loss last week, big win tonight, 34-19, the final score. Just up the road from there, DeLand hosting Spruce Creek at Spec Martin Stadium. The Hawks coming off back-to-back losses. Bulldogs had won 4 straight games. First drive for the Hawks. It is P.J. Miller lofting it. Just fell into the hands of the wrong guy. Picked off by Mike Hamilton. DeLand, though, will not do anything with that one. So Spruce Creek picks right back up. Miller looking, now running, will shake off the defender, and ain't nobody stopping him. Touchdown, Hawks. Fly, birdie, fly. All right, a little later, Miller again. This time gives it to Trell Edwards, who beats DeLand at their own game. The ground attack to the house. Spruce Creek up 13-0. Dogs did battle back. Taj Moore will find a way to get into the end zone in the next play. Hawks, though, fly on to a big win tonight, 48-13, the final score. In downtown Orlando, something's been stirring over at the First Academy. How about this resume for the Royals? They've won an out-of-state game in Tennessee. They knocked off Edgewater in week 2. They haven't looked back. They're 5-0 and ranked in the top 20 in the state. Tonight they welcomed in Orlando Christian Prep for the second of 3 district clashes, hoping to lock up a district title to the Payne Stewart Athletic Complex in downtown Orlando. We go. TFA had lost 3 straight in this rivalry with OCP, but a whole new game tonight. Early going it was, though, OCP. Nice touchdown there. They make the Royals pay. Akeevan Anderson in for the short touchdown, 7-0 Warriors. But TFA wakes up here. Second quarter, 4th and goal. The defense gets the stop deep in their own territory. They even force the fumble. Then Dane Tompkins running hard. Watch this. Ooh, yeah, no, you're not going to stop him. You just slow him down. Runs for more than 70 yards on a 99-yard drive. Whole tribe of Warriors finally push him out of bounds, and about 6 seconds later on the next play, he punches it in for the score. TFA rolls. Royals clinch their first district title in 8 years, 39-13, the final score. How about a little more private school ball? Undefeated Bishop Moore hosting the number 2 team in the state, St. Thomas Aquinas. Tough sledding for the Hornets. Second quarter, Bjorn Jorgensen just nowhere to go. Big old Daniel Norman, 98, looking like Reggie White for the sack. Tony laughed. Then to the Raiders on offense, Andrew Indorf to Cameron Roberts, the future Tulane Green Wave tight end, rolls in for a score. That would get the running clock going. Bishop Moore falls to St. Thomas Aquinas 50-15, the final score. Miami in action right now on the college football field, trailing to Virginia Tech in the 4th quarter. Could be in store for an interesting one in Miami Gardens. You're wearing Miami green, so I thought you might want to.
Listen, you know this is not Miami green. I do love the fact that all the things online are you never see UCF, Florida State, and Florida fans all rooting for the same thing, but we're all Hokies tonight. To say the least.
I wish I understood any of what
Don't worry, I may get an email. Just know that much.
A few. No umbrellas
Just
tonight.
a few.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah,
2 weeks in a row.
All right, 7-day forecast. Before I
just had a hurricane in the middle.
91, 91. Stop it now. Low 90s. Don't use that word. Right through the middle of next week. Low 90s, guys.
All right. This has been a long week, and we are staying on top of all of our big stories tonight.
Flip over to WESH 2 for local live late breaking news at 11, and of course, more high school football.
Woo! Yes.